It's a substitute for gold, a store of value. Gold is a $15 trillion asset. It is a new asset class. How big could that be? If this new asset class with low correlations of returns and risk relative to other asset classes, all fiduciaries have to look at this new asset class. And so we think it could become, 2 to 5 or 6% of portfolios. It's also an insurance policy in emerging markets.
Renowned hedge fund manager and star stock picker Cathie Wood has always been pro-innovation and what it could mean for the growth of the U.S. economy in the coming years. In various interviews and social media posts, Cathie has repeatedly shared beliefs that we are about to witness a radical shift in the global economy, driven by the rapid advancements in 5 disruptive innovation platforms: artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, robotics, genomic sequencing, and energy storage. She likens the convergence of these technologies to the revolutionary impact of the telephone, electricity, and internal combustion engine in the early 1900s. However, she contends that this new wave of innovation will produce an even more dramatic economic shift. While those earlier technologies spurred a 5-fold increase in real GDP growth, Cathie predicts that these 5 platforms will generate an unprecedented economic boom. Current projections by economists suggest a slowdown in global growth to around 2.6%, down from the historical average of 3% over the past century. However, Cathie's research paints a far more optimistic picture, forecasting an extraordinary 8.5% growth rate, even under conservative scenarios. She strongly believes this boom will be driven by the convergence of these platforms, which currently make up $19 trillion of the global equity market cap. She believes they will rise to an astonishing $220 trillion within 6 years. With the historic victory of President-elect Donald Trump, Cathie says these platforms have finally found the extra push they need to take off completely. Cathie believes blockchain technology and other disruptive technologies could grow swiftly under a Donald Trump administration, stating that federal deregulation, a known hallmark of Trump, could drive innovation. In one of her videos published just before the election, the ARK Invest founder and CIO said, "If Trump's elected and they do the decreasing regulation, getting government spending down, and expectations of government spending down, I believe that what we've been expecting is going to happen on steroids." And that is the 5 major innovation platforms that are evolving today. So robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, and multi-omic sequencing. She reiterates these claims in the latest episode of her monthly In the Know with Cathie Wood, pointing out just how beneficial she thinks Trump's administration will be for innovations and the overall U.S. economy. As we bring you clips from Cathie Wood's video, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for the support, and enjoy the video.
With the election, before this moment in time, I was talking about, gridlock, nothing's going to happen. Now, with the results of the election, we can see a lot of changes. And I think the biggest one, and what we just illustrated with nuclear power, is regulations, getting regulations out of the way. We obviously need regulations for the safety and well-being of individuals and so forth, and absolutely agree with that. But the regulatory environment is a morass now. I mean, when you put people in positions as regulators and they start building their empires, you get more and more regulations, and it's really had a stranglehold on businesses, especially small and medium businesses. So we think those shackles are going to come off. We think the biggest regulatory changes are going to happen because SEC Chairman Gensler is going. He's announced he's leaving on January 20th. So the digital asset world, we think, is now about to take off and thrive. And then, of course, while we haven't heard anything about Lina Khan at the Federal Trade Commission, which that commission has been an obstacle to mergers and acquisitions during the last 4 years, to such an extent that it has really harmed innovation. Certainly our strategy is an example of that, because large companies have not felt any pressure, competitive or otherwise, because of the regulatory stance of Lina Khan and others out there, to investigate new technologies, actually buy companies, and establish a price. These are strategic buys, and they telegraph to the world how much innovation is worth from a strategic point of view. Well, we haven't seen a lot of that. There's been a dearth of it, and we think that's going to change. So we're going to have a lot of price discovery. And we know also that at the Department of Justice, President Trump is bringing in people who are very pro-competition, and they are looking at sort of quasi-monopolies out there as being not so healthy for growth in the U.S. and global economy. So I think we're going to see a lot of freeing up and a lot of M&A. There's pent-up demand for it. And we often say that we don't want the companies in our strategies to be taken out. We think they're pure plays and have miles to go. But what we do want is price discovery out there, and we've lacked that for the last 4 years. Another important initiative, so important, is known as DOGE. We mentioned it, I think, on the last In the Know. So the Department of Government Efficiency, headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, we think is going to be extremely important in terms of streamlining businesses. And it has been fascinating during the last month or so to watch them evolve their strategy.
Trump has tapped two business titans, billionaire Elon Musk and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, to head his Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. This non-governmental task force will be tasked with finding ways to reduce government spending by cutting programs and slashing federal regulations. According to reports, Elon and Vivek plan to work alongside the White House Office of Management and Budget, headed by Trump's nominee, Russ Vought, known for masterminding cuts in the past. DOGE as a historic opportunity for structural reductions in the federal government, Elon and Vivek wrote in a recent op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. We are prepared for the onslaught. Kathy is quite optimistic about these plans, but notes that the department will have to work within the confines of the government's current structure initially to avoid encountering significant resistance. However, she notes they are already creating straightforward initiatives to address the challenges. An example is the requirement that employees report to their offices 4 or 5 days a week. Kathy believes this will lead to considerable attrition as many individuals have become accustomed to remote work. She also points out the recent reveal by Elon Musk that approximately $500 billion worth of contracts have expired, yet spending on them continues. Resolving this alone could get us a quarter of the way to achieving a $2 trillion reduction in government spending by July 4, 2026, Kathy notes. In her video, she also discusses Bitcoin's recently achieved $100,000 milestone and what it means for the overall digital asset space. Here are more clips from the video.
Here is an exciting chart. We hit and crossed $100,000 on Bitcoin this week. That's a big deal. As many of you know, we've been involved with Bitcoin since it was $250 in 2015 when we wrote our first white paper on Bitcoin in collaboration with Art Laffer. And I remember back then saying to Art when he said, "This is what I have been waiting for since the gold window closed in 1971. And I said to him at that point, I said, and remember, Bitcoin was $250. I said, Art, this sounds like a big idea. How big could it be? And he said at that time, well, how big is the U.S. monetary base? That's the reserve currency of the world. This seems to be the new reserve currency of the world. I said, well, back then it was $4.5 trillion. Today it's about a little over $7 trillion. Well, crossing $100,000 today took us to roughly $2 trillion. So we're well on our way. But as we were talking, and of course, I've kept this conversation live with Art Laffer. He has come back to me and he said, well, wait a minute. Before 2008, the monetary base was $750 billion. That's all we needed for the reserve currency back then. And what we've gone back to say to Art is, yes, if we were just looking at it as the world's reserve currency, you might be right. But we're looking at it in many other ways as well. It's a substitute for gold, a store of value. Gold is a $15 trillion asset. It is a new asset class, or as we named our paper in 2016, the one we did in collaboration with Coinbase, ringing the bell for a new asset class. How big could that be? If this new asset class with low correlations of returns and risk relative to other asset classes, all fiduciaries have to look at this new asset class. And so we think it could become, 2 to 5 or 6% of portfolios. It's also an insurance policy in emerging markets for populations who are used to, whether it's corruption or, inexperience or what have you in terms of fiscal and monetary policies, but, collapses in currencies and outright confiscation of wealth or capital controls. So this is ideal as a hedge against those scenarios, and even for high net worth individuals around the world. You never know, you never know what's going to happen out there. So insurance policy. So this is a very big idea. And we are looking forward to sharing more papers, not only about Bitcoin, but also about the 2 other digital asset revolutions, the financial services revolution, and more broadly encompassing, including Bitcoin, the digital asset property rights revolution. Now that is a big idea.
Cathie Wood anticipates that Donald Trump's return to the presidency could lead to a significant economic boom similar to the Reagan era. She expects his policies to focus on deregulation, tax cuts, reduced federal spending, and fostering technological innovation. Wood believes these measures could stimulate economic growth by reducing inefficiencies in government and creating a more business-friendly environment, particularly for sectors like artificial intelligence and digital assets. She also predicts that a shift in U.S. regulations could help the country regain its competitive edge in technologies like blockchain and crypto, areas she feels have been stifled under previous regulatory approaches. Overall, she views Trump's policies as pro-growth and likely to benefit innovative companies, small and medium-sized businesses, and the broader economy more robustly than seen in decades. Do you agree with her optimistic predictions for the Trump administration? Please share your thoughts and observations in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed this content and want to see more, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and reach more amazing people like you. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us, and it keeps us motivated to bring you more exciting content. Let's grow this community together. Thank you for being part of the journey.